recording it here, and then, yep, if I'll just be a minute or so, I'm looking for something to talk about.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. I get the idea. Stop the payload.
Alright, so Reaper TP'd up top. Have we previously gone over Ashe?
No, I don't play her that often. I think when she first dropped, I played her for like a week.
Okay.
But I only really use her situationally. But
So is this
um,
whole thing gonna be over Ashe, or just this tiny little bit?
I think I play Ashe, Tracer, and McCree in this one. I've been trying to swap characters when it seems beneficial.
Alright, so
Um,
first off, Ashe, your fundamentals of like when is left click necessary, like when should you be unscoping, when should you be scoping? Answer to that is most of the time we're gonna just be scoping. Here we go for a lot of unscope shots, and a couple different, like when would you want to use unscope shots, and mainly that's going to be especially when things are right next to you, but only really again when they are low, right? So if something's right on top of you, you unscope. If they're closer to you, you can shoot unscope as well, but you're gonna also want to make sure that they're on the lower end. If they are far away from you in 1 HP, then you're gonna find a lot more success just continuing to stay scoped in. Scoped in is gonna be a much more of a bang for your buck and do a lot more damage and be a lot more accurate at a range, particularly because here we burn through like 10 shots and only hit a single shot just because there's so much spread at this range, and even if we hit them, it's not going to be doing that much damage just because unscoping doesn't do that much damage. So when something's low, we shoot at it, and if it's right on top of us, then we shoot at it. But other than that, we're probably going to be scoping in most of the time. Oh, and then we can also use it, of course, to get hit dynamites as well. That's no objections to that. But there we just burned through a ton of shots without hitting anything. And nice dynamite so far. And again, you just probably find more success out of scoping that out. I like the high ground positioning we're keeping here so far. Nice headshots. Great dynamites. Alright, really not a ton of problems so far. Make sure we're getting healed back up, so we're requesting healing. Here we're re-engaging when we're like 80 HP, so we just wanted to make sure we weren't doing that there. Oh, there we back up, and I don't think we have too much of a reason to. Right, so here we've been sitting up here this entire time and gotten great success off of it. We got healed back up to full HP, and we don't really have too much pressure on top of us. We also now we have like 4 teammates up here, so we actually now more than ever we have the most protection we've had. But right now for some reason we're dropping off of the high ground. So probably want to stay up here, or at the very least be on this top right blue boxes and be on one of those high grounds, because I don't think it was necessary that we drop. Alright, so now we're taking this back high ground. Alright. Yep.
Let's get you back in the fight.
Great dynamite. Alright, awareness. We did not react too well to that TP. So multiple things. First off, we see the TP happen, I'm fairly certain. Right here, right, we see her drop the TP. Once we see her drop the TP, right, we can make the assumption that she's not TPing anywhere in this direction, right? I don't think this would be too useful for her. So as soon as she drops the TP, we can assume, alright, it's probably going behind us, right? And it's also going to be in front. If we see the TP and we don't see the Symmetra, right, it goes in front of the Symmetra. So if we don't see her standing here, it means that it has to be going in this direction. So there's 2 places it could be going. It could be going top or bottom, right? And that means we just want to turn around and look. Is it going top or bottom? We can also hear it if we're paying attention. We also see Reinhardt disappear here. Or at least, sorry, we don't see him disappear because he's on the other side of the wall. But we do hear multiple people TPing through. We hear the TP being placed. We want to make sure we're being audibly aware of our surroundings, because here we don't notice until we're getting shot at, which is a little bit too late. Okay. Now that's a situation where unscoped is pretty decent. No problems with that. Good Bob timing. So for the most part, stuff's going good for the moment. All right, so we're stuck in this tiny little room down here. So right now we're not in the best positioning. So we probably want to be retaking high ground the next opportunity we get, but right now we don't currently have an opportunity. We also don't seem to notice when there's a Reinhardt right on top of us. Right? We react very, very slowly to the Reinhardt swinging at us. Don't prioritize your life here. Don't prioritize detonating a dynamite if we have a Reinhardt on top of us, right? Because there's a Reinhardt swinging on us, and we're just not really reacting. So far, looking like maybe awareness being one of the bigger things to work on.
Yeah, I find what I'll do sometimes is I'll prioritize whatever I'm working on over turning around.
Yep.
But
Usually you're going to want
that's
to
really
prioritize
bad.
staying alive, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
would agree.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure we're reacting faster, and it's not going to be worth it to detonate the dynamite if we're just dying immediately afterwards. Alright, good decision to back up there.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Oh, okay. I was confused there for a second. I thought they were the blue team. I was like, wait a second, we're not looking at the Junkrat. Grab the health pack. Oh, make sure we're watching our health bar again. Awareness. Pay attention to our surroundings. Watch our health bar. Watch our, where's the enemy team at? That's been one of the bigger ones so far. When we're at 100 HP, we don't want to be sitting at 100 HP, so we just request healing and get our supports to look at us, or we grab a health pack. The other thing is that let's retake a look at this. We have a bunch of teammates getting this spawn down here. We see that they're out there, but we're kind of approaching pretty late, right? If we're paying attention to where our team is, right, because we can see our teammates through walls. That means that we see that we have our entire team in front of us. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people here. We should not be this far back if they're looking to take a fight, because here essentially this is as if we're AFK or as if we're dead, right? Because we're not really participating. So we want to make sure that we're much closer here so we can start doing damage and doing things, but we kind of approach really, really slow, and we're slow to realize that the fact that our team's up there, we don't grab a health pack, and then by the time we're actually shooting at anything, Reinhardt's already dead, right? So there, again, just awareness of paying attention to our environment really makes a difference, because when we are aware of the fact that our whole team's ready to fight them, and in the fight, that means that we are actually participating with them and not putting our team at a disadvantage. When there are people looking at us, try not to stand still when we're going for our dynamites, right? That's fine if there's nobody looking at you or you're in a safe position. But if you do have somebody who's still looking at you, we want to make sure that we're not standing still, because that's just going to open up for very easy headshots and sleeps and whatnot. Alright, good job grabbing the health pack. Oh, good job. Looks like we're watching our healer now, so that's good. Okay, at the moment we're not taking the best angles. Alright, so couple different things. First off, this is very, very far away. Ashe, even though she does have a scope, she does have fall off damage, so the further away we're getting, the less and less damage we're doing. So at this range, we're actually going to be doing less damage than if we were at closer up. So that's one thing that we probably don't want to be this far back. Secondly, we've previously talked about target priority, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so from this, and then I would assume then, therefore, we've also talked about off angling. Off angles are very, very easy to come by if we're just coming up here, right? Now we can get like a dynamite, or like even from up here, the kind of same thing, right? Dynamite off from like behind the shield. We can, shoot them in the back line. What does it matter if Sim TP's up to us? We just, coach gunner away and then break the TP, right? Not too dangerous at all. We have high ground positioning. The only person who can get up to us is Lucio and this Metra, right? Nobody else can get to. Oh, and then there's Junkrat as well, right? Those are the only characters that could get to us. And then Lucio would have a really hard time doing that, as there's a little lip here, right? So we have a ton of survivability up here, and would get really good angles. But at the moment, this is not the best positioning, and therefore we're just stuck shooting at Sigma. All right. Okay. Talk about crosshair placement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just you can see this here, right, as we're just approaching a symmetric, kind of look at where our crosshair is in comparison to our head. This is just a good example of crosshair placement. Nice mechanics, though. Mechanics are looking really solid.
I expected the dynamite to be ready sooner.
So in this, what right? Oh yeah. I think that happened a couple times where we thought we had an ability. So just make sure we're glancing at our abilities when we know we have it, or so that we know we do have it. Here we drop from high ground, and I'm not too sure why we drop. I don't think there's necessarily a reason why we needed to drop from high ground, but we do. Probably just keep it.
Hey. Where does it hurt? Fire in the hole! My ultimate is charging.
Did you possibly let team know the Sigma's there?
No, I was actually thinking about that. I thought maybe he escaped the other side.
That's usually a good call out to make. Just say Sigma's underneath, guys, push him, right? And just be ready to go, because there we don't punish him, and that's a pretty easy thing to punish. Very nice, though unfortunately two things. First off, we did not notice the fact that they swapped to Widowmaker and then shooting at other people until it's too late. Secondly, we do a wide peek, right? So here in the situation, right, with the with the Widowmaker, right, look how far away we are from the cover, right? Whereas this would probably be much better, right, when we're like right here, because then we can go like this, right? On top of that, so we're just kind of out in the open, and we don't really realize the fact that there's a Widowmaker shooting at us until too late. When there's a Widowmaker shooting at us, she has that advantage, and you might be better off like just running away and then until you find the better angle, right? You don't want to take that direct one-on-one if she had it is staring straight at you, because she has the one-shot potential you don't, and therefore you're both basically standing still, so it's just whoever clicks head faster, right? And you don't want to take that duel when you have the disadvantage. At the moment, she's already looking at you, and she, that means that she has the advantage, right? Probably when it comes to sniper duels, like 75% of sniper duels are won just by acquiring the other target first, right? Just by finding them first and clicking their head first, right? Is how sniper duels are won. And in this instance, like, she already has our number, we probably just want to back up, but instead we shoot at her and then we die, right? So in that instance, backing up and then re-engaging, like, so we could back up and decide to come up from above her. We could back up around the corner, wait like 2 seconds, and then pop back out and make it seem like we moved on to a different position. And then because we got picked, of course, that's a big disadvantage for our team. Very nice. Sent Bob a little bit too far, because from there he cannot stall cart, right? So make sure we're really concentrating on the Bob placement. So when we're coming out here, we want to make sure that he's, that first off, we're throwing him probably faster, because in this is, yes, we get the Widowmaker, but then here we just want to make sure that when we're throwing him, he's going into these boxes right here, right? But instead we look too far to the left, and we kind of flick with it, and then now Bob goes way too far, right? All the way over here, because we kind of weren't aiming the right direction, right? We're aiming this direction rather than the boxes. So we want to make sure that Bob's going to the right place, put a lot of concentration effort into where we're placing him. That Bob placement could really make the difference between winning and losing that fight right there.
Yeah, I thought he would collide with the cart, and then he just kind of jumped over it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you always have to try to. That one's real tough for me too. But you kind of gotta get used to the fact that Bob has a slight distance that he comes out from. So like from where from where you are, he comes out like probably like 5 meters in front of you, ish. Right. So if we're looking at where Bob goes, right, he's coming out. Yeah, like kind of like 5 meters in front of you. So you just expect that he's going to be jumping over some stuff sometimes, right? And somehow we're surviving for a little bit here. Right, so there you saw fall off damage, right? It took us 4 shots to shoot her, even though usually it would take us 3 shots. So that's why you don't prefer that range, and why in the last fight we probably should not have been in that range.
Here it comes.
All right. Here we want to make sure that when we are shooting at Widow that it's a surprise. Here we peek up and we see Widowmaker, and therefore she knows where we're at. So right, we need to be like on her screen, like she saw us, right? Because we saw her, so she probably saw us. There's a good chance, and she's looking at us now. So in this instance, we'd maybe want to reconsider it because of the fact that she knows where we're at, right? Like I just said, 75% of Widowmaker duels are won just by knowing where the other person is first, right? If you don't get the jump on her, she has the advantage because she's a Widowmaker and you're an Ashe, right? Ashe loses to Widow in a 1v1 if the Widow knows where you are because she has more range. She also can one-tap you, whereas you can only two-tap her, right? So in this instance, right, we both times we're engaging her where she has the advantage, right? Make sure we're not taking duels where we know that the other person has the advantage. Instead, we know that she knows where we're at, just give it like a couple you can wait like 5 seconds and then just she'll forget about you or move on. She'll think that you went somewhere else, or we could actually rotate and just drop from the high ground, or instead of peeking just straight up through here, we could do like a kind of longer wrap around where we kind of come over here and then drop and then peek like this, right? And then now it's a different angle, right? It's not just coming where she knows we're at. So here we just kind of come from this predictable angle where she saw us at, and then therefore we lose, right? We also missed 2 shots, which maybe we could have won that if we hit one of the 2, like an extra one of those 2 shots that we missed, right? That's just another option there. But the biggest thing was just making sure we're not taking the disadvantage fight, right? Nice kills.
Hey. Here it comes.
Oh. Alright, so here we're taking a really, really far angle again. So why don't we talk about, we're at 7 minutes. Why don't we just go over it? So we've talked about range on McCree before, right? It's really the
Yeah.
same concept on Ashe, right? It's just you have a little bit longer of a range, but we have to remember that we're not a Widowmaker, right? Ashe is a mid to long range character, so she's a little bit. I'd probably say, like, if we're comparing the two, McCree is a short to mid range, where he wants to play like kind of somewhere within this, right? Whereas Ashe is a mid to long range, so she wants to play within kind of this to that, right? So that means that on Ashe, right, from here we can do 1, 2, 3 body shots. But if we're coming back to here, for example, let's see, we do 1, 2, 3, and then now it takes 4 shots, right? Now we back up like all the way, right? We take this position, right? Now it's taking us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shots, right? So we want to make sure that we are we're staying within our range, right? We're not getting too far away, which sometimes here where we're getting way too far away and we're playing in that far positioning, whereas we probably want to be a little bit closer so that we can actually kill things effectively and do our max damage without doing half the damage, right?
Okay.
Oh, that's not share it.
Arriving at watch point, ready for battle.
Right, so here we're just really, really far away from stuff. Now once they're directly below us, this is a little bit better. Right, they actually moved into our range.
Personne n'échappe à mon regard. I need healing.
And a lot of time spent shooting at tanks. Oh, very, very dangerous there. Standing still against a Widowmaker, right, who could potentially tap you there. Just be careful about standing still when, people could potentially look at you and shoot you. On top of that, make sure we're really, really focusing on, hitting those headshots when Widowmaker's basically someone who's standing still, right? Like same as like Ana, like when someone's scoping in, they're not really moving too much. They have a very, very slowed mobility, and their Widowmaker's head hitbox is very, very massive. So you just make sure we're taking the time to aim up the shot, right? We're not rushing it. That way we're not, accidentally missing it. There we probably could have killed the Junkrat pretty simply there with a few different things, right? First off, we get him with a dynamite. So in this instance, we get him with a dynamite, so he's burning, right? While he's falling, we probably could have hit him with 1 or 2 shots and killed him. And then the other thing is that when we see he's low like that, what we could do is just coach gun straight up in the air and tap him while he's beyond the boxes, right? Just real simple, easy to secure another kill here, but we kind of ignore the fact that he's low. Another thing I'm noticing is sometimes we're just not paying attention to when enemy players are low health, right? We're not paying attention to health bars of enemies, so make sure that you're paying attention to health bars of the enemy team, right? Just paying attention to that again, awareness. Okay, unscope shots, shooting a lot on tanks, right? Okay, that coach gun's not really gonna do very much, right? Reinhardt already landed the charge, so booping him's not really gonna do very much. Besides, I guess maybe we're trying to boop him before he got to somebody. Just rewatch that real quick. Yeah, I think we were trying to boop him before he actually hit anybody. All right. All right, so a lot of focusing on tanks that fight, right? Not, not really going for the right targets. So if we just, went back and watched through that fight, we just see a lot of tank focusing, right? So we Ryan, right? Sigma, Ana, right? And then we're back to Ryan, and Sigma. Right now we're on to Junk, Widow. Right now this here we're focusing Widow, right? Then now we're back to Sigma, Ryan, and Ryan, and Ryan, Sigma, right? So the entire fight, we're just not really on the right targets when there's other targets that are options if we're just looking for them. Like in this, we probably pause it on any frame, or not any frame, but frames here and just we're shooting at Reinhardt when Lucio's in front of Reinhardt, when Anna's to the left of Reinhardt out in the open. Or we have options here to go for other characters, but this is equal opportunity, yet we're going for the target that's harder to kill, right? So target priority, remembering, tanks aren't what we want to be focusing. Instead, we want to focus DPS and supports, right? Not just tanks all the time. Lucio's in front right now. Like, we can pause it in a moment here. Like here, maybe we just shouldn't be on the front line. We have a coach gun. We could do multiple things with this. We can just run to the right real quick and boost ourselves back up to the high ground. Here's a really good option since we have coach gun available, right? That should be a plan here. After Reinhardt's out here in the open, we could shoot at him, but we also have the option to shoot at other people. And then we die. All right. So now I think that's a round after we die here. Yep, it is. All right.
Ready for battle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
All right, and then we've only previously we've gone over McCree. Did we ever go over Tracer as well, or no?
No.
No. All right. Well, then this will be new for us as well.
I put some practice into Tracer, but like 1800 is generally the rank for that account.
All right. Make sure that we're not blinking in without abilities. Oh, snap! I didn't mean to go that far back. So here we have 0 abilities, right? And we have 0 abilities, right? and we want to make sure when we're going in and getting aggressive, it's not when we have 0 abilities, right? Because when we have 0 blinks, right? When we have 3 blinks, then we can come in here and we can go shoot, shoot, oh, blink, shoot, shoot, blink, shoot, shoot, and then we can recall out or whatever, right? And we can get out. It gives us a lot more survivability. It means that we're able to actually sit in there and fight. We're able to survive in the fight. Whereas here we are going to, I would imagine, either die or immediately have to recall, right? Or we just fall and then don't accomplish anything. Make sure we're getting our health back. We're not sitting at 85. We have health pack. We have support to heal us up. We just want to pay attention to our health pack. Oh, there we go. Yep. Really good. Okay, blink management is totally going to be something that we need to work on. So just immediately, on that, we want to make sure we're not wasting blinks, because that means that it's blinks that we can't use to do anything else with. So immediately here, a couple blinks that we waste. First off, unnecessary blink to get forwards here when we could. Instead, in this instance, right, we want to be coming in when we have all of our blinks, right? So in this instance, we could just walk up, right? And then in that time, because it takes us a couple seconds to walk up, that means that by the time we're right within shooting distance, we have 3 blinks available. But instead, we blink to get it within range, and then now we're coming into shooting distance with 1 single blink, right? Which is very similar to having 0, right? And then we also blink immediately into a wall, right? When absolutely nobody's looking at us, right? Bash is not, we can look at all all of them, and no one's actually looking at us, right? Which is something we want to pay attention to. That's awareness, right? That we want to pay attention to. Okay, good recall. Okay, we're being very hesitant here in between fights. Make sure we're making a decision. Are you aware that the blue box on the back of Bastion's head is his hitbox, or his head hitbox?
Yeah.
Yeah, so make sure we're aiming for that thing, right? So here, for example, like if we're going up against the Bastion, what we do is we are going to want to just, we see him here. We could either sneak up, or we could just blink up to where we're like right here and just empty an entire clip into his head hitbox. So we're actually doing more damage, right? Sorry, there's someone screaming in the back, baby screaming in the background there.
Okay.
Right, so we just empty a whole clip into his head hitbox. Instead, we kind of poke at him from a little bit of a distance here at his body. And then also we see that he was low, he's like 1 HP, and then we're kind of like very slow to kill him there. Alright, just paying attention to health bars again. Alright. Oh, very, very good, good tracking there. Though, again, blinking in when we have 1 single blink. Right, and then we're also walking within the Reinhardt's swing distance. Make sure we're not walking within Reinhardt's swing distance when we could just very easily stay outside of that distance, right? So 2 different things there. Probably the biggest thing we're looking at on Tracer so far is going to be the ability management. Now, so let's do strengths and weaknesses real quick. In total, I'll probably say one of the biggest thing we're looking at is awareness. So awareness is looking like a kind of a high priority. On our Ashe, honestly, ultimate usage just needed a little bit of work, but it wasn't too bad. So I probably put that at like a low to medium priority to work on. But for the most part, ulti usage seemed pretty decent. Mechanics, again, pretty decent. Still needs a tiny. Probably the biggest thing with mechanics would be the target price. Oh, excuse me. I was burping there. Biggest thing being with our mechanics would just be the target priority, and then a little bit of just crosshair placement, right? So that one maybe probably be like a medium priority to work on, right? Ability usage on Ashe, honestly, pretty good, right? I honestly say ability usage on Ashe was like a low, whereas on Tracer so far this is looking like a complete opposite, where now ability usage is looking like a high for our Tracer. I haven't seen any pulses yet, so I'll need to take a look at if he's pulse any better or worse than Bob. And then positioning is looking like a medium as well. Honestly, like for the most part, it's all right, but there are a lot of moments where we could be in better spots, right? Especially on our Ashe there, right, where we were in a couple poor positions. All right, so then we died really early there.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
All right, couple different things, right? First off, again, going in with 0 blinks, right? So we're blinking in here, and we have 2, and then we use them to approach. So now we're getting within the fighting. We're getting into the fight with 0 blinks, right? This vastly changes our chances of winning than if we have 3 blinks here, because then we're able to blink around and change things, right? The other thing is that we go for the yeet on the blink. We're going to talk about this in a moment of how we can look to land pulses better, but for the next part is that we're kind of sitting in their face and we don't recall here immediately. We probably should either be blinking away or recalling, but we kind of sit there way too long and then die as a result, right? Now we're at 11 minutes. Let's talk about some stuff here. All right. So pulse bomb usage, right? How we can look to use that effectively, is we're going to want to look to, blink in before we're going for a pulse, right? So this is called. Let me get pulse up real quick, right? And then we can talk about it. Just need to get it here. All right, we have it. So coming over here to a bot. 10 meters is your blink range, so or at least 8 meters is how far you're blinking. But so if we blink from here to there, we are within melee range, right? This is called a blink melee when you do this, right? Where you're blinking in and you're meleeing instantly, right? This is also how you're going to look to pulse. When we are here and trying to yeet it, we have to go for these really weird, awkward angles, and it's also very difficult to hit the target because they can just move away from it and whatnot. It's very hard to hit it, right? But if we're right next to something, this is a very, very difficult target to even miss, right? It's very difficult to miss. So how we can do this fast is we're going to blink right in and then pulse, right? So we can blink, pulse, and then we can blink away, or we can walk away, or we can even recall away. So we can blink in, pulse, and then recall. So that looks like this when we blink in and pulse and then recall, right? Oh, almost killed myself there. But we want to look to do that so that our blinks become easier. We don't want to throw them in, right? Toss them in. That's not going to be very effective. Instead, we want to make sure we're like right up next to them when we're going for these, going for pulse bombs, right? Now, other things on Tracer, positioning on Tracer, right? In that last fight, right, we were approaching from the front line. Most of the time on Tracer, not going to want to approach from the front line. So kind of the same things that we were talking about with off-angling, but to an extreme extent, right? So on Tracer, we don't want to come from the front line because there's a lot of different things that kind of are going to go wrong if we try to do that, right? First off, we're stuck shooting at tanks and shields, right? Second off, we're also, because they can see us, it's very easy if we're trying to blink in for them to shoot at us, right? We get shot at, we get stunned, and we're going to die very, very easy, right? But if we're actually, instead, if we're coming in on a side angle, well, now we get a couple of benefits, right? We get to their backline, we get past the tanks and the shields, we create a crossfire effect, right? And then on top of that, we are going to have a lot more survivability because we get a surprise advantage, right? They don't know we're coming, which means that they can't stun us and shoot us instantaneously, which is going to be very good for us. Whereas in that last fight when we died, we just, blinked straight into their faces, which made it super easy for them to all shoot at us, right? They had a lot of time to see us and react to us coming in, right? So playstyle so far, it's kind of looking like this with our blink management, is we're just kind of constantly using our blinks. We're going blink, 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 and then we get it and blink, and we get it and we blink, right? But instead what we should be doing is we want to make sure we have our blinks when we're going in. So we would kind of just go blink, 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 and like kind of engage like immediately with 0 blinks. But what we should be doing is instead approach from the side angle, right? Wait for our blinks to come back. We can poke, get our blinks, and then we can get it and go a little bit more aggressive when we have our blinks. Now when we have our blinks, we can use it to dodge stuff, right? We can when he looks at us, we blink around him, and then we blink around him again, right? You basically do 360s around around anybody that you're dueling, or like even a whole team, right? You blink behind them, and then now they don't know where you are, and you can shoot at them, and then they're going to turn around, and you can blink around them again, right? So it just becomes very confusing. It means that you dodge out abilities and damage and ultimates and whatnot, anything that can kill you. If we have blinks, but so far we're not really utilizing blinks because we're coming into fights without them.
Arriving at watch point, ready for battle.
Here it comes. Hiya.
All right, so this is where we just died.
This is not your time.
Oh, like in the wall there. Okay, frontal angle, shooting as shields, out of blinks. Right now we want to recharge our blinks. We don't want to be using them too much. We want to just get them back. Right, but we're blinking in immediately, like straight into their team, right? And then we're blinking out again. So we're never like, we never have our blinks available, and then therefore we just don't have anything to escape with. Make sure we're keeping a healthy distance. We don't want to be blinking in straight on top of people. So instead, try to get into their sidelines, right? There's a, if we're trying to get in, for example, right? Let's just like say, take a hypothetical here, and we're reassessing this fight, right? We can sit here main, poke at the tanks for a little bit, get all three of our blinks up, and then maybe we can triple blink over here and get behind them. Right now now that we're back here into some better positioning, usually you're gonna, like we talked about before, you want to approach from a side angle or a back angle. Right, those are gonna be the best angles for you to be on. So if we're here, now we can maybe use the boxes and shoot at Zen for a little bit. Right, if we're being pressured, then we can just back up and wait for our blinks. Once we have blinks, we can get a little bit more aggressive. Right now, we probably wouldn't be able to make it around left side because that would be too many blinks to get around there, but we could also maybe take high ground, right? And if we take high ground, now we can duel these guys, right? Without having to worry about shields. But instead, we're kind of, blinking in without saving up our blinks. We're going jumping straight on top of people, right? Instead, keep a little bit of a distance between yourselves. Kind of, you want around that blink range like we talked about. So around like 10 meters in between us and them, right? We don't want to be inside of them, because that's gonna be how it's like we talked about with pulse bomb. That's where it's easiest for them to shoot you. And then now we're out of blinks and then we're dead, right? So a lot of blink management that needs to work, right? Okay. Here we can maybe be like taking the high ground. That might be the easiest place to go to contest people. Okay, out of blinks because we're using them. I mean, like, I'm not saying that you're never gonna go out of blinks if once you get good at using your blinks. It's just that how frequently it is that we're just completely out of blinks in the middle of a fight. It's because we're using a ton. Make sure we're not chucking it, but we're running up next to them. Audio awareness. Junkrat's right to our left, right? I have my volume like really far down here because I'm trying to actually be able to hear myself talk and listen to you. But when you're playing in the middle of a game, I'd probably recommend having your audio turned up so we can listen to something like that. We also see Junkrat Tire come from the top left, right? Which means that we know Junkrat is hiding up there, right? And we can very easily get that kill, right? So if we can hear him go fire in the hole, we also see Junkrat Tire, coming from that direction, right? So that's just a very easy kill if we're paying attention to it. Alright, they were just kind of out of position. We probably should have still be on high ground, right?
Yeah, I think I was going there to wait on someone to come out, and then once I saw the Junkrat, I just kind of shot at him, and then it
Yeah.
came bad for everything.
Probably say it's usually gonna be a better idea to like kill the people who are still in the fight than to try to, wait for somebody who's respawning. You like to kind of spawn camp. Usually, it's gonna be a better idea. Okay, just constantly going in and we have no blinks left. Instead, just sit here on the back, like when we don't have blinks available, just sit on the sidelines. Sit over here and just shoot them rather than just going in immediately, right? We can just poke here while we're recharging blinks. We don't have to be going in super aggro. The other thing is that when the fight's lost here, instead of backing up this way, you could probably get behind them. We have a ton of survivability as tracers, so we can probably, and they're also gonna be focused with these guys. So if we think that we've lost this fight, we can probably just back out this way and get out of the fight, or even if like we wanted to, we can just keep going this way to get out of the fight, and then this just puts us behind them and puts us at that good positioning like we were talking about. Or the other option here is to be using this time to take high ground, right? Make sure we're rotating in between fights. We're not just, sitting still here, right? So in between fights, we can be taking high ground, which from high ground, we can, come over right side and have this high ground without having to go down main. We could come up top left, and then from here, we can I think you're gonna need a double blink. I don't think you can cross that in one blink. Yeah, you're gonna need a double blink. You can double blink across, and then now we're up to this high ground. Or we have a couple different options here. Just make sure not. Probably the worst idea would just be sit main, where we have probably the worst positioning. All right, so we are taking high ground. That's good. That's good. Just maybe we probably could have taken this left side stairway and made it faster. Oh, but then we immediately drop from high ground, right, using a ton of blinks as well. All right, so now, let's see, we're recharging blinks. Oh, yeah. Awareness, right, we're listening and watching. Here, right, do we see him peek out on our screen?
Not sure. I could hear him though.
No, he's like right behind. Okay, so we didn't see him, but we just want to make sure we're listening, and he's like very far out of position there. So that's weird that he would be there, but we want to make sure we're listening so we can hear him, right? And then
Yeah, I thought someone was up top, and then I just died.
right, dying quite frequently here. We want to make sure we're focusing on survivability. Now, I probably say that the results, and honestly, like I'm not the reason why like survivability is seeming like a big thing there, but I think it was honestly worse on Tracer than it was on Ashe, and I think that's mainly going to be from ability usage and positioning, and once you get those down, you're going to be better. So honestly, I'm not going to make a big deal about survivability because I think there's the underlying issues that kind of feed into that. So the bigger thing would be to focus on our positioning. So Tracer real quick, just as a as a quick strengths and weaknesses on her, because it's different on her than your Ashe. Probably going to keep it the same for your awareness. Awareness is still a high priority. Positioning, I'm going to bump positioning for both of them. Now I'm thinking of it like up to a medium high. Trying to think of this because it's in comparison to each other. I'm going to Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna keep it at a medium then. Or sorry, I'm trying to think through this. Mechanics probably gonna get bumped down one. So mechanics. I'm honestly just gonna put mechanics. I'm gonna remove the mechanics part of it. I'm just gonna make mechanics into a target priority. As you shooting at stuff is really isn't an issue for your gameplay. Then I'm probably going to put that at like a medium priority still. Your positioning, I'm going to put at a medium high. Your ability usage on Tracer is going to be a high. And then your ultimate usage is probably going to be a medium high, as it again we missed both of them. So on Tracer, there's a lot more stuff to work on than your Ashe, which I think you might also like. Your Ashe is just better than your Tracer from what I've seen so far, and then I think your McCree is of course the best out of all of them since you have the most experience on him. But that also kind of makes sense because Ashe is a little bit easier of a translation over from McCree, right? Ashe is very similar to McCree in positioning and playstyle, whereas Tracer is pretty different. So I would say that would make sense anyways. So Tracer just has more things to improve on, specifically ability usage and ultimate usage being things to work on.
Yeah, I've just been trying to expand my hero pool a little
Yeah.
bit, because I'm finding sometimes like McCree just isn't cutting it.
Yeah.
And I mean, Widow would probably be a good one,
Mhm.
um, but I seem to just never get anything done. So I figured Ashe was a good
Yeah, she's pretty.
alternative.
Yep.
60 seconds remaining.
Okay. Once again, I'd probably say it'd just be the best idea possible to try to be taking high ground. Gives us a good off angle. It can test their DPS. Oh, get him, flash him. Very nice. Nice headshot off of that. Well, we have the upper. Oh, very nice shots. Yep, mechanics looking superb. Oh, make sure we're not rolling in inside of him. We just keep that side positioning.
I think I wanted to use the window there. That gets me killed sometimes, but I like
Mm.
hitting headshots with it.
All right, what's wrong about this scenario?
I think we've won the fight.
Yep, exactly, right? Awareness, making sure we're watching kill feed, right? It's a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 3, and or no, sorry, yeah, 3, right? And then also he's 1 HP, and these two guys are shattered and half HP, right? So this is a very one fight. So this Onion, doesn't do the most. So ultimates in general are looking on Bob. They honestly look pretty decent. High Noon here, the one I've seen needs work, and then the other two pulses needed work. So in total usage, still seeming like something needed to be worked on. Whew. Very nasty. Okay, so ability usage on McCree looking very solid. Mechanics looking really solid.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Yeah, I haven't done any aim work this week. Generally, I'll do it while playing, but I wanted to focus more on positioning and working on Ashe a bit.
Making sure we're aiming head level though, right? That is something. Just just make sure we're hitting headshots.
Hello.
Oh, teammate's not getting cart.
Thank you.
Thank you, moron. Alright. No, that's unfortunate. They probably shouldn't have made you sit on cart there.
Howdy. Enemy turret.
Alright, let's rewatch that real quick. So, here in this instance, we're walking up, and Reinhardt's back up because his shield just broke. Right, he's on the bottom. Right now, we're very far out in the open. Right, if we're trying not to be so far, like if we're looking at all those screens, like we're pretty far out in the open. If we want to make this just better, just back a little bit into this room. Now this positioning's much better, right? And then as a result, we're actually gonna die because of the positioning. So just making sure we're not standing on the open, and then we back up, and then we go back to the exact same spot, and this time we do get shredded because of it. Right, Reinhardt gets pinned, and then we actually, we did it like kind of 3 times in a row here. We went up, and then we backed up, then we went up, then we backed up, then we went up, and then here just notice how far out in the open we are, right? Look how far ahead of our team we are as well, right? We're not paying attention to our surroundings, right? And then we see that we have 4 people behind us, right? And they're all over there, so we have no team support. So here we're really far forwards is a big thing, and we're also just out in the open. So as a result, we die, right? So survivability, positioning. Alright, making sure we're staying alive.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, kind of in these types of situations where we've got shields in front of us and the tanks are kind of going slow, like I always feel the need to just kind of push, I guess, and that gets me killed.
Yep, just wanting to pay attention to our surroundings because just staying alive there, you're gonna find more value out of that than if we just die. This is a kind of last ditch effort, so honestly, not too bad of a high noon. I'm not gonna take away any points for that.
Yeah, try to at least get my ult in before I die on the last push.
All right. So, we have like 3 minutes left here. Would you like to, I mean, like until we get to the review, do you have like another one you'd like to quickly go over? Or I mean, we could also just get to the review a little bit earlier here. All right.
Now entering the temple ready for battle.
I think this was a McCree game.
All right.
Defend objective A.
No. Be very careful of Widow sightlines and make sure before we're walking on the open, we're checking what comp they're on. Alright, so their awareness of the fact that the McCree went right side, right? Let's see, did we ever see him go right side? So right here, McCree died, and then he gets a res. And then right here, he walks right side while we're there. And then we see Bap right, walk right, and we see McCree walk right. So we saw them both do that. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to our surroundings, right? Paying attention to our screen, watching where's the enemy team at, because quite often are we just being caught off guard when people are approaching us from the side. And then as a result, we get flashbanged right from the side and almost die to that. And then we do die to that, right? So we do get res, that's good.
You look like you've seen a ghost.
Nice roll to better positioning. Oh, probably focus the Roadhog when he's out in the open. So that, you know, we've talked about, you know, not to shoot at tanks, but there are situations where you do shoot at tanks, right? And one of those situations is when they're out of position, right? In this situation, Roadhog is very, very much out of position, right? Because looking at him in comparison to his team, he doesn't really have too much team support. He's out in the open by himself, so this is a very, very good situation to focus the Roadhog, but we kind of looking at other things, and then there, that'd be a good place to be focusing the Zarya. Yep, that's completely fine to look at the Zarya there. All right, very, very far on the open without her team with her, right?
My ultimate is almost ready.
All right, so why don't we go and do the review now? All right, we'll just, you know, go over the main points and whatnot, all that stuff. All right, so let's start with Ashe here. Ashe, we'll go over the character specific stuff at the end. So why don't we go over some of the other ones first? So, first off, let's go over our positioning, right? Or first, let's just do the, you know, do just mechanics real quick. First off, just mechanics, making sure aiming head levels, just, you know, same one. I think we talked about that multiple times every time I come back, right? Just making sure we're aiming there so we can get constant headshots, whereas we're not hitting too many headshots, and sometimes it's inconsistent, but for the most part, mechanics are very, very solid, right? That's why here we're gonna just refer to the categories as target priority, as that was the big one, was just a lot of times you're just shooting at the wrong targets, right? We weren't really shooting at, you know, other things we should have been shooting at. We're shooting at the tanks like all the time, right? So we just want to make sure that we're shooting at the right things. Target priority looking like a pretty big thing, right? Now moving on to our positioning off of that, right? Make sure that we're taking off angles, right? That we're not just constantly sitting on the main angle to shoot at, you know, so we can actually get to things that aren't the tanks. So instead of sitting and shooting on lane, look to come on an off angle or go to a high ground, right? That way we can get around the tanks, right? But so we're not having to shoot at them constantly. Make sure we're not on the open, right? We're not, you know, good positioning is usually cover, bad positioning is the absence of cover. Make sure we're keeping our respective ranges. On McCree, we were a lot better with it, honestly, with our positioning. I think on McCree we're doing much better than on our Ashe, but on Ashe, you know, we would, you know, play really, really far away, like kind of like we were Widowmakers. So make sure we're not playing at a long range, but instead we are, you know, we're playing closer so that we're not having to do a lot less damage, right? Because we don't want to have to be all the way back here where we're taking a lot more shots to actually kill things. So then moving on, I think that was it for positioning. Moving on to awareness. There's a whole lot of stuff in awareness, so let's go over them. All right, first off, health bar. Make sure we're paying attention to our health bar and making sure that we're, you know, we're not going in when we're low. Make sure we're requesting healing when we're low. Make sure we're grabbing health packs and we're, you know, when we're low and we're not just sitting at low health, right? There are a couple times where we just ignored when we were low. On from there, let's see, what are some other ones. Make sure we're paying attention to whether or not we've won or lost a fight. That was like really like one fight in particular where we just messed up with our high noon, you know, and then that was pretty much it with that one. But the big ones was paying attention to where is the enemy team, where is my team, right? Tons of times we made mistakes just because we weren't paying attention to our surroundings, right? So make sure keeping your eyes open, make sure that we are looking at, you know, around us, looking left, looking right, doing 360, paying attention to where's my team, where's the enemy team at, because there's sometimes where our team is like, you know, ready to go in and we're like sitting all the way back here for no reason, or there's sometimes where, you know, there are multiple times, right, where an enemy team or member would just like, you know, sneak up right next behind us and we wouldn't notice. Audio awareness, make sure we're, you know, concentrating on listening to our surroundings with our audio, you know, so that we can hear when people are sneaking up next to us, right? And we can hear the Junkrat tire, right? So that we're not, you know, letting him get away with that for free. So audio awareness as well, another one to focus on and make sure we're listening to. Pay attention to health bars of enemy players, right? Sometimes we just wouldn't pay attention to health bars, and then and also just make sure we're paying attention to team composition as well, right? Now, before we move on to the ones that are character specific, real quick, just some Ashe specific ones, right? Sniper duels, make sure that we're not, if we're especially when we're up against another Widowmaker, that if she knows where we're at, don't directly duel her, right? Try to take a different angle, right? Just don't take duels where you're at a disadvantage, right? Widowmaker has an advantage, Ashe one versus Widowmaker, and in general, in sniper duels, the sniper who sees the other sniper first is going to have the big advantage. So make sure we're not, approaching her when she knows where we're at, right? Because then she has an advantage, or at least is an equal one, right? So if if she's down main here and she sees you, don't just sit here and shoot at her, right? Instead, back up a little bit, right? Now we have multiple different options. We can go up main here, we can go left, we can go right, we could even go all the way up top. Actually, no, we can't go all the way top, right? We can go so we can go left, we can go top, we can go right side and wrap around. We could even what we can do here is we can back up, make her think we're rotating, give it a couple seconds, and then come back here, right? And then now she's not looking at us, right? On from there, your gun, make sure that when we're shooting, we're not left clicking from a distance, right? You see how inaccurate this is when we're trying to use it at a distance. Is actually it's going to be really spread out if we're trying to use it this far away. So actually I guess it is being accurate here. You can see it over here how it's a
Yeah,
lot
I
less
think
inaccurate.
the first bullet's accurate, and then the rest have
Yeah.
spreads like that.
Exactly. Um, and then on top of that, right, it's just not going to be doing very much damage. So when we're using it, most of the time we're not going to be wanting to use it at range, right? We can use it if someone's like right on top of us, like right here, or we can use it if they're like 1 HP. And we probably don't want to be using it when they're 1 HP and like super far away from us, because then that's going to be real hard to finish it off. But those are situations where we use it. We can also use it into a dynamite as well, right? But besides that, it's just not going to be enough damage to want to be using that very often. Use right click or you're scoped in more often. All right, now moving on. Ultimate, Bob's honestly pretty decent. Just make sure you're expecting him to come out a little bit ahead of you. I'm pretty sure it's like 5 meters, so here he should drop there. Yeah, it comes out 5 meters in front of you, so you just expect him to come out a little bit ahead of you. Probably get used to that. Besides that, honestly, we had really good timing with him, right? So that one wasn't needing too much work on it. All abilities, honestly, not too terrible either, right? Make sure with Coach Gun that we're using it to get the high grounds, we're not ignoring it. Besides that, they're all looking pretty decent. Moving on, other characters. Tracer, there's a whole bunch of stuff to work on. So let's go over her. On her, first off, right, with blinks, big thing with her blinks, right? Make sure we're not just using them all constantly, but we're letting them recharge. And when we're trying to go in for duels, we're kind of sitting here, we're letting them recharge, and then we're getting aggressive when we have them, right? We want them to be able to dodge out abilities and stay alive, right? Make sure that we are not coming in from the frontal angle, so positioning wise, make sure we're not just coming in from here, but we're coming in from the side or from behind, right? Coming in for this angle. Rather than coming in with 1 blink or 0 blinks, we want to be coming in with 2 or 3, preferably. On from there, honestly, recall usage, not too much of a problem. Pulse bomb, make sure that one needs a lot of work. Make sure we're putting a lot of effort into it. But the timing is pretty decent. The only thing was just landing it, which means that we probably want to do this, where we blink in and pulse, right? Just go for blink pulses. That way we can actually land it effectively. That looks like this, right? Where we do that right on top of him. Makes it very easy to land, right? Just when you're right up in his face like that. Make sure that as a tracer, we're not just blinking through main straight into them. A lot of times we just kind of run into their team. That's not how we want to be playing as tracer. Usually as tracer, you want to keep a nice healthy like 10 meters in between you and the enemy team, right? You don't want to be inside of them. You want to keep it like 10 meters. So that's tracer's range. And that is pretty much it with tracer. McCree, abilities, great. The one ultimate I saw, just make sure we're not using it in a won or lost fight, right? We don't want to use ult in a lost fight, and then that was it. So overall, main points, right? I would probably say that at number 1, we're going to put awareness, because it was such a constant thing across all of your characters, and it led to a lot of mistakes, right? Number 2, I think this is where it differs up again, amongst different characters. I think Tracer is going to be separate from the other two. The biggest thing with her was her ability usage. So for Tracer, the ability usage is number 2, right? But that's different for the other characters. So why don't we just do them in order then? So I'll do the other two separately. So McCree and Ashe, right? I would probably say it goes awareness, then 2 comes in at positioning, then 3 comes in at mechanics, 4 comes in at ultimate usage, and then or sorry, mechanics. I thought I forgot I'm not saying mechanics. 4 the 3 would be target priority, right? And then 4 would be our ultimate usage, and then 5 would be ability usage, right? On Tracer, that's a little bit different. Tracer, it would be awareness, and then ability usage, and then probably ultimate usage, and then after that would become positioning, and then finally I'd probably put the target priority as last, because if you fix all the others, then target priority comes a little bit easier, right? That's kind of the different priority list with our Tracer than the other guys. All right, do you have any questions about anything we've talked about?
No, I think that sounds good, man.
All right, well then just let me